How different do you think that a second Trump administration would be to the first one? Because he won't have the same kind of people around him, and he seems to be thinking very differently about how to handle the presidency.
First off, I think he'll take on the administrator of a deep state. We have a fourth branch of government here that's kind of metastasized over the last 50 years. The same groups that try to nullify his first election. Remember, from the very first day that we won back in November of 16, they fought us tooth and nail. I think we'll have people around him who are remember, we're training up right now 3,000 people that get step into the government day one that don't need Senate confirmation. These are people that have the populist MAGA, America First agenda. We're working on those policies now. He will hit the beach with people that are like-minded and tough and know what we have to do this time. But that's why I think in Davos today, they're in total meltdown about the ascendancy of the MAGA movement and our leader, President Trump. But I think it'll be quite different. It'll be more like the first couple of years and not so much like the last couple of years.
We're talking about revenge here, aren't we?
I don't think it's revenge. I think revenge is too personalizing it. I think he understands, Andrew, that for the United States to be the leader in the world, you got to take care of the United States first. Remember, it's interesting about what's happening in Commons this week. We're having the same fight here in the United States. We have an invasion of 10 million illegal alien invaders in this country. It's blowing up the major cities in our country. We have a $2 trillion deficit annually structurally going forward. We have a Congress that's lockjammed. We're fighting right now to make sure we defund the Biden government on midnight this Friday, to have the MAGA conservatives in the House fight that. So we're in turmoil for the simple reason is the global elites and the elites in this country, the oligarchs that run this country, have gotten us there. And it's going to be a tough fight to get out, but we're prepared to fight.
A lot of people are still trying to get the handle on your politics and the politics of your movement. You've said in the past you're not a white nationalist, you don't like that kind of language, but way back in Lille at a National Front rally in, I think, 2018, you said to them, let them call you racist, let them call you xenophobes, let them call you nativists, wear it as a badge of honour, because every day we get stronger and they get weaker. Is that what you still believe?
Andrew, I think if your producer goes and pulls for you what I said as the lead up to that, when they falsely accuse you of this because that's all they've got. I said when they start calling you those names, that's when you know you have.
So it's a false accusation you're talking about.
No.
A false accusation.
That's the last part of it. Look, I'm the leader in the world. I'm the only civilian in the history of the United States ever to be fully sanctioned by the Chinese Communist Party 5 minutes after Joe Biden was president of the United States. I'm the leader of the anti-Chinese Communist Party effort throughout the world, including in Hong Kong and Taiwan, in the United States. So how can someone be a white nationalist when we're fighting for Lao Beijing, we're fighting for the Chinese people? It's complete nonsense. This is what happens.
Okay.
Hang on. When the mainstream media and the global elites want to sit there and kind of, Alinsky somebody. They're not going to Alinsky me. Our movement's too big, too broad-scoped, and too powerful.
Let me take you on to foreign policy, which is where you were just now. I've just been talking to the Russian ambassador in London, Mr. Kalin, and he says that what Russia wants is for America to concentrate on America, Mexico, their part of the world, and as it were, to butt out of our part of the world, butt out of Europe. And that is very consonant with what President Trump has said in the past about wanting to cut ties with NATO. Is that what we're looking for?
Andrew, come on, you're better than that. It's never to cut ties. Right now, NATO is a protectorate. It's not an alliance. What we've always argued for, and I argued with the national security advisors of the individual NATO countries, we want it to be alliance. That means like England and like Poland, you have to meet the minimum of the 2% of GDP to throw into the pot. But more importantly, you have to have a military that has interoperability. We train together. It's actually an alliance. It's not an alliance right now. It's basically an American security guarantee of European freedom, and that can't happen. You can't have countries in Europe that have health care, 6-week vacations, pension funds, and the American people have none of that. Right? Because we have $1 trillion, we have a $1 trillion defense budget. The wealthy in Europe that have dodged this bullet since the Second World War, and let's be brutally frank, outside of England and some partisan resistance in other parts of Europe and in Eastern Europe, we fought alone with England in World War II. The elites abandoned us to fascism at that time. We're not going to allow it this time. The elites of Europe have got to pitch in, and right now, Europe doesn't want to be a protector of the United States. We want a strong, robust alliance. We've wanted that from day one.
Donald Trump did say, and this is on the record, that he'd be dictator for one day. Is that long enough?
Andrew, he said that kidding with Sean Hannity to talk about drilling oil. Listen, all this stuff about being Trump as dictator, he gave you 4 years of peace, or he gave us 3.5 years of peace and prosperity until the Chinese Communist Party let a bioweapon out of the Wuhan lab. Trump's time was total stability. Yes, he put out some mean tweets and the media was all over him, but go back and look at the peace and prosperity, particularly the year of 2019, when throughout the world, non-college educated people, blue-collar laborers made more money than they've ever made since the 70s on a relative basis versus the chaos we have now. We have literally a geopolitical crisis. We have a war that's coming on the Eurasian landmass, whether it's in the South China Sea, whether it's in the Red Sea, whether it's in the Middle East, the Gulf Emirates, or particularly Eastern Europe. That's happening because of the fecklessness and haplessness of world leaders led by Joe Biden and, quite frankly, a handful of folks in Europe.
Earlier on, you were talking about Taiwan and China. What's your prognosis of what happens to that very, very difficult confrontation going on between mainland China, the Communist Party on the one hand, and Taiwan under its newly elected leader on the other, particularly under a Trump administration?
Well, President Trump, I think, he's done a great job of negotiating with Xi. We almost had that great deal in May of 2019 that was ripped up, and then had one that came out in January of 2020. I'm much harder line than President Trump is. I'm a big supporter of Taiwan independence. We're a huge backer of the DPP in this third victory. We think the Chinese Communist Party, remember, inside the White House, we were called the Super Hawks because a group of us, Peter Navarro, Stephen Miller, myself, we do not believe the Chinese Communist Party is the legitimate government of the Chinese people. We think Lao Beijing is outrageous, given how Hong Kong used to govern themselves and how Taiwan, the Free Republic of China, govern themselves. That 1.4 billion people, the Lao Beijing, old 100 names in China, does not have any democracy. They have a brutal dictatorship by this group of gangsters in Beijing. And we are absolutely committed. We are absolutely committed. A big part of MAGA is committed to take down the CCP in unison with Lao Beijing.
Final question. The phone goes, you pick it up. Donald Trump says, Steve, I want you back. What do you say?
Right now, our media company is going gangbusters supporting President Trump. But if President Trump ever asked me to come back to the campaign or to the White House, I would always do what President Trump asked me to do. This is one of the greatest leaders. This is only the third time in the history of our country, Andrew, General Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and Donald Trump, that the fate and destiny of one man is the fate and destiny of our republic. So if President Trump, who I call the American Cincinnatus, if he called me and asked, I would do it.